So, I'm searching for things to talk about in the world of sports now more than ever. I'm telling you. I'm Matt Levine, right here on the 954sports.com YouTube channel. Thanks for stopping by, paying a visit. If we weren't virtual, I'd buy you a cup of coffee, a cold one. I really would. Anyway, I can just wish you thank you. So here's what's going on. Today, I'm part of a Facebook group. It's a really cool one. It's a group dedicated to nostalgic baseball. And today the topic, when I woke up, was great mustaches of 1980s baseball players. And the idea was to post the baseball card that you think represented the best stash in the 80s. When you ask me my favorite decade, very close to the 70s and 80s, I'd have to go with the 80s. Baseball was in its glory day, for me at least, growing up a kid, partially in New York and in the tri-state area of New York City, in the city, and in Connecticut. Got to see some great baseball players, and there were definitely some great stashes. You may want to call it mustache. I call it mustache. You call it tomato. I call it tomato, potato, whatever. It's the look that counted in the 80s, right? What a fun decade it was. Anyway, the player I chose, first one to come to mind was the Hawk in this card right here. 1989 Topps. Andre Dawson, an integral part of the Cubs in '84. Won the MVP. Cubbies won the NL East. Played the majority of his career, though, in Montreal for the Expos. How about the Spos? Long live the Spos in that groovy uniform and hat. Feels like it was a lifetime ago that they played baseball in Montreal. Anyway, as far as the Hawk goes, 11 seasons again with the Spos, 6 with the I almost said the Shy Sox, I'm sorry, the Cubbies in Chicago. Big difference there. The Red Sox, he played a couple of seasons. I don't quite remember it for some reason. I do remember him finishing his career with Florida. Guy who was raised in Miami, got to come home. Mark of a great hitter, doubles. A lot of them. 503. Batting average 279 for a slugger. Club 438 home runs. 2,774 hits. A great, great ball player. And just a tremendous mustache that, like fine wine, got better through the years. My second choice, the guy that second came to mind. Almost put him first, but I stuck with the Hawk. Great Rollie Fingers. How can you not put Rollie Fingers up top of the list? Rollie Fingers, the most genuine waxed mustache in the history of sports. A dapper gentleman? Maybe. Great pitcher? Definitely. 17 years for the righty in the bigs. 114 wins. Did his damage out of the pen. 341 saves. A sparkling 2.90 ERA. Great pitcher. Known for his outstanding seasons as a part of the A's. He wasn't the only A's ace that ever sported a pretty cool stash. Dennis Eckersley. Talk about a pitcher that can do it all. Started as a starter in his nearly 2-decade career. In fact, with Boston in '78, he was 20-8. Would go on to win the 1992 Cy Young. Brilliant with the Bash Brother A's teams. 390 saves. In '92, he had 51. 197 wins. 3.50 was the ERA. Long live the Eck. Long live his stash. It's interesting, too, that a lot of great players in the 80s happen to have great mustaches. Let's talk about one who wasn't so great that had, I'd say, half a cup of coffee in the bigs. This is maybe the weirdest mustache. It looks like it was drawn on with a crayon or marker, Crayola style. How about that? Rick Sweet. The Moonlight Graham of mustache baseball players in the 80s. Really much of the late 70s. Had that sip of coffee in 83. 78 to 83, I should say. Parts of 4 seasons. Batted all of 221. Home run, 11 RBI. Known for the mustache, not the bat. Look at that thing. Class. Personified with a mustache that belongs in Cooperstown. Long live that one. Eddie Murray. Fabulous. Just a great, great ball player. 20 years in the bigs. 504 home runs. 287 batting average. 32.55. 3,255 hits. I'm not good with numbers. Never was, never will be. I can read the back of a baseball card, kind of, sort of, maybe. Tell you this much, a great hitter. Hits a lot of doubles. 560 of them. Forget almost that he was a 92-93 Met until I remembered. I saw him play a bunch during those years coming back from college out west. Used to hit a lot of Mets games in the early 90s. Yankees as well. Mets were an easier ticket. At 37 years young, had a good year for the Mets in 93. 27 home runs, 100 RBI, 285. Long live the stash. Long live Eddie Murray. A man of few words, but a fantastic Fu Manchu-styled mustache to go along with a pretty darn good bat and glove at first base. And a Baltimore legend forever. Talk about a guy who's a legend. Well, how about the great Don Mattingly? My man. Had a pretty slick stash for the Yankees. 14 seasons for Mattingly. Limited in his early to mid-late 30s because of back injuries. Woulda, coulda, shoulda been one of the greats. A beloved Yankee, mostly for his 1985 MVP campaign. Called him the Hitman. 324, 48 dingers, 145 RBI, taking the league's most valuable player for the career. 307, 222 RBI. Told you, great hitters hit doubles. 442 of those, just over 2,150 hits. Love Don Mattingly, one of the all-time great Yankee mustaches. Another guy that can hit, Wade Boggs. He was once a Yankee and a champion in 96, riding that horse around the old Yankee Stadium. All he did, in addition to having that great fox red mustache, was hit 328, 3,010 hits in 18 years. Doubles up the old wazoo, 578 of those. One of the most beloved Red Sox you will ever get. Wade Boggs. This guy, well, has his own place in Boston history. Not because of the mustache, mostly because of Mookie. We all know the deal, the great Bill Buckner. By great, I mean he was a pretty darn good baseball player. 22-year career, 289 average. He had 2,715 hits. He'll always be known, though, for that play that lost the 1986 World Series for the Boston Red Sox and continued the curse of the Bambino. So there you have it. Well, with Bill Buckner, who I always felt badly for. I thought he didn't get his due justice like he deserved. Bill Buckner. There you have it there. Here's another guy I want to show you. He was a pretty darn good baseball player in his own right. And this is a different time in baseball. Smoking a cigarette. Looks like he's smoking something else, but I can assure you it was a cigarette. Keith Hernandez, an integral part of the 1986 Mets World Championship. Keith, perhaps the best fielding first baseman I have ever seen. He was a great, great New York Met. And at a time when Mattingly in the 80s was sporting a great mustache, So was Keith. Long live Keith Hernandez. If you got him, smoke him, Keith. He certainly did. The man could play baseball. 1979 MVP. And again, a champion with the Mets in '86. And finally, one of the great relievers in Major League Baseball history. I got it pictured here as a Chicago Cub with the random batting helmet on, and as a San Diego Padre. Took on Andre Dawson and the Cubs in the '84 NLCS. Cubs should have won that. But Rich Goose Gossage and the Pods took it. A Yankee legend. His mustache was legendary in Chicago and in San Diego. Also played for the White Sox at one time. So think about it. That mustache and his talents went coast to coast in between. Those were the days. Great mustaches, great baseball players, and a lot of character in a great decade of the 1980s.